For years, Phil Mickelson was impossible to ignore. He had an opinion on everything, a comment ready for every camera, and a social media presence built on provocation. He was the loudest voice in professional golf, the man who called the Saudi backers of LIV Golf scary motherfuckers and still joined their league anyway, the man who recruited players in PGA Tour locker rooms while still cashing PGA Tour checks, the man who never once backed down from a confrontation in his entire career. Conflict was his natural habitat. Controversy followed him like a caddy. For 3 decades, whether you loved Phil Mickelson or despised everything he stood for, you could never ignore him, because he never gave you that option. So when Phil Mickelson went completely quiet in February 2026, the golf world genuinely didn't know how to process it. Not a single hot take, no social media fire, no provocative ex-post at midnight, just a short, carefully worded statement about a family health matter, and then absolute silence. For a man built the way Phil Mickelson is built, that silence wasn't just unusual, it was alarming. Golf fans noticed immediately, because when someone that loud suddenly stops talking, it almost never means what they say it means. His February 1st statement was brief to the point of being clinical. He would miss the first 2 LIV Golf events of the 2026 season. He and his wife Amy needed to be present for a family health matter. No details beyond that. No timeline for return. No specifics about who was ill or what was happening. Just a closing line about how he couldn't wait to compete again and would rejoin his teammates as soon as possible. Fans assumed it was a short-term situation, something manageable, a few weeks away from competition while the family dealt with whatever it was privately, and then Phil would be back. Loud, opinionated, impossible to ignore, same as always. The golf world moved on and simply waited for him to return. What nobody understood yet was that this silence had only just begun, and what was sitting underneath it had nothing to do with one family health scare. March arrived and Mickelson returned briefly, making his 2026 season debut at LIV Golf South Africa at the club at Stain City in Johannesburg. He finished tied 48th out of 57 players. Not a performance anyone wanted to make headlines, but at least he was back on a golf course. The golf world exhaled slightly and assumed the worst was behind him. Then April came, and the Masters was on the horizon. Augusta National. The green jacket, 3 of them already in his wardrobe, a tournament he had played every single year since 1995. 31 consecutive appearances, stretching back to when many of his current critics were still in school. His statement this time landed almost word for word identical to the one in February. Extended period. Family health matter. He would be watching from home and wishing everyone the best. That phrase, extended period, carried a completely different weight the second time around. Because missing the Masters was not a small thing for Phil Mickelson. Tiger Woods was also absent that year, which meant 2026 became the first Masters since 1994 played without either man in the field. An entire era of golf, absent from the sport's most iconic week. Aeronymink Golf Club hosted the PGA Championship that year, and Mickelson's name briefly appeared in the official entry list. For a moment, it looked like he might show up. Within hours, the PGA of America confirmed his withdrawal. Same explanation. Max Homa was named his replacement in the 156-player field. When the U.S. Open arrived, there was not even a withdrawal to file. His 5-year exemption earned by winning the 2021 PGA Championship had expired, and the USGA made the quiet decision not to extend him a special invitation. No announcement, no explanation, just an absence where his name used to appear. Royal Birkdale then hosted the Open Championship, and his camp confirmed he would not be traveling to England either. His spokesperson issued the same line that had now become a familiar, almost mechanical refrain. Phil continues to attend to a family health matter and is uncertain when he will be able to return to professional golf. 4 majors, 0 appearances, a first in his entire professional career spanning more than 3 decades at the highest level of the sport. Most golf fans are patient people. They accepted the health matter explanation, respected the privacy of whatever the family was going through, and waited. But behind closed doors, in the clubhouses, in the locker rooms, in the private conversations between people who knew Mickelson or operated inside his social world, a very different kind of discussion was beginning to build. Not about illness, not about his children or his wife, about something else entirely. Something that people with close knowledge of certain situations had been aware of for a while. Something that powerful figures in golf's most exclusive private world had been working carefully to keep from ever reaching the public record. The whispers existed. They had existed for some time. Most people assumed they would stay whispers forever. The walls were already cracking. The question was never if, only when. To understand what broke open next, you first need to understand the world Phil Mickelson has operated inside for 30 years. Private golf clubs at the highest tier of American wealth are not just places to play golf. They are ecosystems built on discretion. Staff members operate under confidentiality expectations so deeply embedded they rarely need to be stated explicitly. Incidents that would end a normal person's public life are absorbed, managed, and quietly resolved behind closed doors. A private conversation here, a settlement there, a membership quietly discontinued with no public explanation attached. This system has shielded powerful men in golf, in business, and in politics for generations. It functions precisely because everyone inside it benefits from its continued silence. Phil Mickelson had lived inside that protection for his entire career, moving through that world with the confidence of a man who understood exactly how it worked. June 2026 was the month it stopped working for him. If you've never seen this channel before and you want the unfiltered story behind what actually happens in professional golf, subscribe right now. This is what we cover. On June 11th, Golf Digest published an investigation that ended Mickelson's membership at the Farms Golf Club in Rancho Santa Fe, California, the private course where he had practiced and played for decades, located approximately 10 miles inland from Torrey Pines. Multiple sources confirmed to Golf Digest that Mickelson had approached a female employee at the clubhouse and made non-consensual and inappropriate physical contact with her. She rejected his advances immediately and reported the incident directly to her supervisors. Club officials launched a formal investigation, located Mickelson while he was still mid-round on the course, confronted him directly with the accusation in front of witnesses, and told him to leave the premises before finishing his round. He left. The Farms released a carefully worded public statement, confirming that a member misconduct complaint had been received, thoroughly investigated, and resolved with what they described as decisive action. The final line of that statement was unambiguous. This individual is no longer a member of the Farms Golf Club. A display inside the clubhouse that had long celebrated Mickelson's career accomplishments was removed from the wall shortly after his departure. The San Diego County Sheriff's Office confirmed it would investigate further if additional evidence or information was provided. Mickelson's legal team responded by calling the entire episode a misunderstanding. His attorney, Tom Clare, went further, claiming that objective video evidence existed on the club's property that would fully vindicate his client. Reporters followed up with the Farms directly. The club confirmed that no video of the incident existed anywhere on their property. The attorney's central defense had collapsed within days of being made. Yet the Golf Digest story was only the first layer of what was coming. His spokesperson issued the now familiar statement alongside the legal response. Phil continues to attend to a family health matter. Two entirely separate crises, a family health situation and a club expulsion, being managed simultaneously with the same single sentence. It was a remarkable thing to watch in real time. The golf world had stopped waiting patiently and started asking much harder questions. 15 days after the Golf Digest investigation, on June 26th, Alan Shipnuck published a report through Skratch built on 19 separate on-record and background interviews, reviewed by 2 independent media attorneys and an experienced fact-checker before publication. Shipnuck is not a rumor writer or a tabloid journalist. He authored the most extensively researched, unauthorized biography ever written about Phil Mickelson. His sourcing process is documented, his methodology is transparent, and his track record in covering Mickelson specifically is longer than almost any other journalist working in golf. What this report revealed was not a single incident at a single club during a moment of poor judgment. It was a pattern, running across more than a decade, touching 3 separate private California golf clubs, involving multiple individuals who had remained silent until Shipnuck's phone started ringing after the Golf Digest story dropped. The report connected Mickelson's departures from the Farms, the Madison Club, and the Bridges at Rancho Santa Fe to separate allegations of inappropriate conduct at each location. 3 clubs, 3 quiet exits, one thread connecting all of them across years of behavior that the private club system had successfully absorbed and buried, until now. Among the most extraordinary details in the report involved the Bridges. Sources told Shipnuck that Mickelson paid a pro shop employee $500 in cash to carry his phone around the golf course for several hours, generating a false GPS trail that would show his wife Amy, who was actively tracking his location on her phone, that he was out playing a round of golf. Amy was tracking his phone, one source explained to Shipnuck. That way she would think he was out on the golf course. That gave Phil the time to sneak over to this guy's house and have his secret rendezvous. His honorary membership at the Bridges was later quietly transferred to Xander Schauffele, with no public explanation given. Then came the account that made the entire story impossible to reduce to a he said, she said dispute. Ashley Perez, wife of professional golfer Pat Perez, a woman with direct personal knowledge of Phil Mickelson going back years, agreed to speak on the record with her full name attached. She described an incident at a dinner during the 2015 Barclays tournament in New Jersey where Mickelson showed her something on his phone that she called permanently uncrossable. "Phil crossed the line with me that is just uncrossable and unforgivable," she told Shipnuck. "He apologized for the action, but I cannot forgive him." Her reason for speaking publicly was direct and deliberate. "There is a culture of silence that keeps women from coming forward. With Phil, you're dealing with an egotistical narcissist. Phil will keep going until he gets caught. If his behavior is ever going to change, he has to understand the trauma he has caused." Mickelson's formal legal response to the Shipnuck report did not contest the individual claims one by one. Instead, the statement read, "Some of the allegations circulating about Mr. Mickelson are false, and others revisit mistakes he has already acknowledged, publicly or privately." Sit with that sentence for a moment. His own legal representation confirmed in writing that certain things happened. The argument was simply that placing disputed claims next to acknowledged ones did not automatically validate the disputed ones. His camp separately attacked the credibility of Skratch as a publication, pointing to its historical creation by the PGA Tour and the Tour's current minority stake in ProShop, the media company that now operates Skratch. The implication was clear. This was a PGA Tour-connected outlet targeting the most prominent player to have ever defected to LIV Golf. Skratch's editor-in-chief responded publicly, stating the PGA Tour exercises zero editorial control, was not consulted about this story, and received no advance notice before publication. Discrediting the messenger is the final move left when the message itself cannot be refuted. Now look at where Phil Mickelson actually stands in the second half of 2026, because what the silence was covering was never only these allegations. Running quietly beneath all of it was the simultaneous collapse of his entire professional future. LIV Golf, the league he helped recruit into existence, the league he sacrificed his PGA Tour membership and tens of millions in corporate sponsorships to support and champion, is facing potential financial collapse. Saudi Arabia's public investment fund officially announced it would end its financial backing of LIV Golf after the 2026 season concludes. New investors have not emerged. Internal discussions about bankruptcy have surfaced in reporting. The league's survival into 2027 is genuinely uncertain in a way that would have seemed impossible 2 years ago. Other LIV names are already positioning for life after the league. Brooks Koepka returned to the PGA Tour through the returning member program at the start of 2026. Jon Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau are openly discussed as players the Tour would welcome back because their star power and marketability justify whatever complicated negotiations would be required. Phil Mickelson does not belong in that conversation. Former ESPN host Trey Wingo stated it as plainly as anyone has. "I can promise you one person that you'll never see in any way in an official capacity with the PGA Tour is Phil Mickelson. That bridge has been burned, detonated, destroyed, nuked, lasered to death. There is no building that bridge back." Brandel Chambly on Golf Channel detailed why. Mickelson openly recruited PGA Tour members to join LIV while still a Tour member himself, physically attended Tour events to conduct those recruitments, and was a central figure in the antitrust lawsuit filed against the organization. Billy Horschel was equally direct. "I don't see a road for Phil Mickelson back to the PGA Tour." Horschel added that Mickelson likely has no interest in returning anyway, and the demand simply does not exist from either side. Mickelson holds lifetime exemptions to the Masters and the PGA Championship. His name will always be eligible for those two events, yet he used neither exemption once in 2026. His only competitive appearance across 12 full months of professional golf was a single event in South Africa in March, where he finished near the bottom of a 57-player field. One tournament, 1 year. From the man who stood on the 18th green at Kiawa Island in 2021 with his arms raised, the oldest major champion in the history of professional golf, a moment that felt like the perfect ending to one of sport's greatest careers. Golf's private world has shielded its most powerful figures for as long as private golf clubs have existed. The confidentiality agreements, the quiet membership transfers, the incidents absorbed behind closed walls, all of it is a system specifically engineered to make certain stories disappear before daylight reaches them. What 2026 demonstrated is that this system has a breaking point. When enough people decide that protecting the silence costs more than ending it, everything surfaces faster than anyone inside that system believes possible. Ashley Perez named it exactly. Phil will keep going until he gets caught. In June 2026, across two separate investigations by two separate outlets built on dozens of sources, he was. The silence around Phil Mickelson was never a single thing. It was a child's health struggle, a club expulsion defended by evidence that did not exist, a decade-long pattern across three private clubs that the golf world's culture of secrecy had successfully buried for years. A woman who decided her name attached to the truth was worth more than her continued silence, a legal response that accidentally confirmed what it was trying to deny, a golf career that may have already ended without a farewell tournament, without a final round at Augusta, without a single word of acknowledgement or goodbye from the man himself. Whether Phil Mickelson ever addresses any of this directly is the one question still sitting open. The man who built an entire identity on never staying quiet now has more to answer for than at any point in his life, and says absolutely nothing. The silence continues. After everything that broke open this summer, one thing is certain. Whatever comes next in this story will not be contained for long. If this is the kind of honest, no surface-level golf coverage you want every single week, subscribe now, and make sure you are here when the next chapter drops.